Hi, and welcome to Art with Mrs. Torres. This week we are going to be making a little Halloween cat with a pretty moon in the background, and you'll notice the eyes on this cat are spectacular. I'm going to show you some fun tricks and tips, and this project is in honor of my cat. Her name is Molly. Now, she's not a black cat, but she does have some beautiful eyes, and I bet if we look right now, we might see her trying to get into my art shed. Let's see if she's over there. There she is. You can see she wants to come in and do the art lesson too. So this is going to be super fun. I can't wait to teach you. Hi, I'm ready to make a spooky cat. Are you? This is going to be such a fun lesson, and we don't need very many things today. You're going to need a piece of paper. You can use the paper out of your printer or some construction paper. You're going to need a pencil and an eraser. You can also use the eraser on the end of your pencil. You're going to need a Sharpie marker, and you're going to need some crayons. Now, if you happen to have some broken crayons, I want you to look for blue and black and peel the wrapper off of them. If you don't have broken crayons, please do not peel the wrapper or break your nice crayons. But if you have some broken crayons, look for blue and black. We're going to be using those for the sky. If you don't have broken crayons, don't worry. We can do the same thing with our pointed crayons. The last thing you're going to look for is a can. We're going to be using a can to draw our moon, to make a circle. So we're going to be tracing around the bottom of a can. So I'm going to have you pause the video, and you're going to go gather up these items, and then you're going to meet me back here. All right, pause the video, go for a little hunt, and look for the things I asked you to get, and I'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back. All right, right now, the only thing you need in front of you is your paper, and we're going to make it vertical, which is tall like a door, your pencil, and your eraser. That's all we need right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start to work on drawing our cat. So for our cat, the only thing that I want you to notice right now are the shapes of the head, the ears, and the body. So the body is going to be a half of a circle, the head is going to be a circle, and the ears are going to be triangles. That's the only thing we're going to work on right now. So I'm going to move my little sample off the side, and the first thing I'm going to do is decide where I want my cat. Now, I made my cat kind of coming off the corner of the paper like this, so that I would have room for my moon and a fun bat. But you could put your cat right in the middle of the paper if you'd like to. I made my cat kind of peeking out from the corner. So you decide where you want your cat to be. And we're going to start with our pencil. And all we're going to do right now is make a really large circle right over here. We want it super big, almost to the edge of the paper. So I'm just going to make a big circle. And please don't worry if your circle looks different than mine, or if it's kind of bumpy, we can fix it. All we need to draw is a circle for right now. And then we're going to make two big pointed ears, one over here and one over here. So I'm going to start by making a big fat triangle for one ear. And then I'm going to make a large, big fat triangle on this side. Now I'm going to check and make sure that my triangles are about the same size. If one is smaller than the other, I'm going to make them as best I can the same size. If I make a mistake, I can use my eraser and erase. Once I have my ears done, then I'm going to decide how big I want my cat's body. Now I only have a little bit of room here, so I'm just going to make a little half circle right here. I'm just kind of curving it around. And it's okay if you draw right through the head of your cat. It's not going to show. We're going to cover it all up with crayon later. So once I have drawn my cat, now I'm going to work on making a fun curly tail that comes around. I'm going to come up here to the side, and I'm going to bring a curvy line that comes around. And I'm going to make a second line right next to it that's going to get a little bit skinnier as it gets to the bottom. Now we want to make sure it's round on the end, kind of like a finger. Kind of looks like a finger bent. So that's going to be my cat's tail coming out from the side of the paper. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find the center of my circle. So all I'm going to do is draw a line right down the middle. And that's going to help me when I put my eyes in so they're about the same size. Then I'm going to draw a line across the paper, nice and light, like this. Now these are going to be covered up with our crayon later, but this is just going to help us so our eyes aren't one up on the cat's forehead and one down here on the cheek. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the cat's top of his eye, and we're just going to start away from that little center part, so a little bit away, and I'm just going to make a rainbow shape like this, up and make it big, and then I'm going to stop it before it gets to that line. I'm just making kind of a rainbow shape. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to go the same distance from that center line. So I'm just going to kind of look and see that's about the same. And I'm going to make a rainbow shape that goes up and over and stops before it gets down to the bottom here. And once I have this line, I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom by making a smile line that comes up and around and touches. So I'm just going to go from here down underneath the line and back up, down underneath the line and back up. Now it's okay if one eye is a little bit different than the other eye. It's really hard to make things perfect, and I don't want you to make them perfect. I just want you to have fun. Now the next part of our cat's eye is the pupil. So the pupil on a cat looks a little bit different than our pupil. So we're going to make kind of like a fang or a claw inside the top part of the eye. So I'm going to bring a line that's kind of close to the corner here, and I'm going to curve it down. And then I'm going to make a big space before I start the next line. And I'm going to bring it down till it comes to a point like this. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to start my line curving in. I'm going to make a big space away so it looks kind of like a pointed tooth. And then I'm coming back down to make my point. Now when I'm finished with that, I want to erase this little line inside the eye. We don't need that anymore. Now we don't have to erase these pencil lines because we're going to be using a black crayon and it'll all get covered up later. So now our cat is done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our Sharpie marker and we're going to trace our cat. I'm going to come up here, and the easy part is tracing our cat's tail. Now, as you're tracing, I want you to go over your lines 2 times, if you can, to make your line a little darker black. So I'm going to go back over my line one more time, just to make my line a little darker. Now I'm going to start to trace my cat's head. I'm going to come right up here to the tip of the cat's ear, and I'm going to make an upside down V, like I'm starting a triangle. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to go over my line 2 times so it's nice and dark. Once, twice, once, twice. And then I'm going to trace the top of our cat's head. Once, twice. And then I'm going to trace the side of our cat's face. I'm just going to come around and stop when I get to the shoulder. I'm going to do it a second time. Stop when I get to the shoulder. I'm going to match it on the other side. And then my shoulders are going all the way off the bottom of the paper. I'm going to go over those lines 2 times. Now we're going to get ready to trace our cat's eyes. So we're going to start with the top of the cat's eye, which looks kind of like a rainbow. I'm going to go over it a second time so the line's a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to match it by tracing the bottom. And then I'm going to do the other eye on this side. And match it on the bottom. When I'm finished, I'm going to trace this part, the cat's black pupil. We're going to be coloring this in with our marker in just a minute. I'm just going to take my marker and fill that space in and fill this space in. Now you're probably wondering, why are we not drawing the nose or the mouth on the cat? Well, we kind of want it to look kind of spooky, like it's almost like the cat's in the dark and all we can see are our kitty cat's eyes lighted up. As you notice, these are whiskers. So to make our whiskers, we're going to do a little trick. We're not going to draw them slow, but we're going to actually take our pen and go flick, 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 and draw them quickly. The faster that you draw these little whiskers, the pointier the line is on the bottom. See how I did that? We can make some whiskers on this side too. When you're all finished making your whiskers, then we're going to close up our marker. We'll come back to it in a minute. And we're going to come up here to the top of the paper and decide where we want to put our moon. So now we're going to take our can that I asked you to find earlier. We're going to place this on our paper up at the top, and we're going to trace around it with our pencil. Now you want to make sure that when you put it up here, that there's some paper at the top, and paper on the side, paper on the bottom, and paper on all edges. So that way the moon will be a circle. So now what I'm going to do is take my pencil, I'm going to hold my can, and I'm just going to run my pencil around the can. Now don't worry if your pencil slips and you get a little oopsie on your paper. We can always erase it. I'm going to move my can away. Now I have my circle. And then we're going to be outlining that with a crayon later. Now you can leave your picture just like this, but if you want to draw a little bat in the background, maybe like for Halloween, I can teach you how to make a bat. He's not very hard to make at all. He's very easy, and I'll walk you through the steps. So what we're going to use is a marker to draw our bat. So I want you to open up your Sharpie, and I want you to decide where do you want your bat to be. So we could put one over here. We could put it kind of in front of the moon a little bit, or we could put one up in the top. So you decide where you want to draw your first bat. Once you figure out how easy it is, you might want to draw more than one. All right, so I'm going to be putting my bat right here. So the first thing we're going to draw for our bat is his head. Now, maybe if I look at my picture here, my bat is under my moon in this picture, but it might look kind of cool to make my bat flying in front of the moon. What do you think? Do you think I should do that? Okay, I'll try it. So the first part of our bat is our bat's head. So we're just going to draw a circle and color it in. Now the next part of our bat is going to be his ears. So I'm just going to make a little pointy ear, just like we did for the cat. The next part of our bat is his body. So I'm going to draw a straight line that comes down. And then I'm going to make a curvy loop that comes to a point, and a curvy loop that comes to a point. And I'm going to color this in. Kind of almost looks like we're getting ready to make a butterfly. It's just kind of similar to making a butterfly. Now the bat's wings are going to come right here from his shoulders, and we're going to be making a line that goes up and out. So from here, I'm going to go up and out, like I'm starting to make a triangle. I'm going to match it by doing the same thing on this side, up and out. Now your wings might be longer than mine, and that is fine. Maybe your body is chubbier than mine, that is fine. Now the next part, we're going to start right up here by the first line, and we're going to make a little loop that comes down like this. We're going to match it on this side, loop. We're going to come back to this line, and we're going to make another loop. And we're going to match it on this side, loop. We're going to continue to make these until we come to the end, and it should end in a sharp point, loop. Now, if yours didn't end in a point, you can just add a little point to the end like this. Then you're going to color in the wings. Now, when you're coloring, try to do your best to not leave any white paper showing. I know you're probably thinking, wait, aren't we going to color the cat in? We will. All right, so now our bat's done, and we're going to outline our moon using a crayon. So we're done with our marker. Now, if you would like to make some more bats, you could pause the video and make another bat up in the sky up here or over here. Pretty soon you could have a whole sky full of bats, or you can even add them after we're done coloring the sky. So if I were you, I would wait. All right, so now we're going to put our marker away, and now we're going to get out our box of crayons. Now the color I want you to look for is blue. So we're going to start with a blue crayon. So see if you can find a blue crayon in your box. Here's my blue crayon. And we're going to outline the moon with our blue crayon. Now, once we outline the moon, then we're going to start to color our background. But I'm going to be using a broken crayon that's blue. If you don't have a broken crayon, that's okay. You can use this the same way. So if you have a broken crayon, I will show you how much faster it is. If you don't have a broken crayon, you can just take your crayon and color like this. We're going to put a soft coating of blue all over our paper at the top. See how I'm doing this with the tip of my crayon? Now let me show you how much faster it is if you have a broken crayon. So if you have a broken crayon, you can set the crayon on its side like this. You see how quickly I can get that colored? You might also notice that you start to pick up some grooves on the paper or some lines on the paper, depending upon what you have underneath you. So you might want to stack a couple extra papers underneath so there's a good cushion, especially if your desk has some lines on it or if there's any kind of papers that are underneath. So now I'm going to take my broken crayon, or you can use the tip of your crayon, and I'm going to try to color around the moon as best I can. And around the tail. And it's fine. If you get some color inside the moon, that is okay. If you get some color inside the cat's tail or his face, that is absolutely fine, especially the cat, because we're going to be coloring our cat black. Now don't forget this part under here. This would also be the sky. And when I'm all finished putting blue all over my paper, I'm going to make sure it's all pretty bright. Then I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to use black next. So now I'm going to put my broken blue crayon away, and I'm going to look for my broken black crayon. Now, if you don't have a broken black crayon, you can use just the regular black crayon. Either one will work. If you don't have a broken one, just take the crayon out of your box, and you're going to start to color your cat's tail. So you can see that this crayon works just as well as a broken crayon. So if you have a broken crayon, you can do it a little faster, but you'll notice it's a little lighter. It's not as dark if I use the side of my crayon. So you'll have to decide whether you want your cat to be a light black or a dark black. If you're using the end of your crayon, you can make it a little darker. When you're all finished coloring the tail, then we're going to come up and very carefully, we're going to start to color around the cat's eyes. Now, I really want you to take your time on this part because we want to make those eyes light. We don't want them to be dark. So I'm going to first practice with my crayon, and I'm just going to color around the eyes first. Kind of looks like my cat has a black eye. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And the reason I'm doing this is later when I use my broken crayon, it's a little harder to control. So I can use my tip of my crayon just around the eyes. So hopefully I don't get a bunch of black inside the cat's eyes. Now I can either use the tip of my crayon for coloring, or I can switch over as I showed you earlier, and I can use the side of my crayon like this. Either one works just great. So either you can use the tip of your crayon for coloring, and you kind of want to practice coloring in the same direction. Notice I'm trying to color side to side. I'm not changing direction and now going up and down. I'm trying to go side to side in this big section here. Up here in the ears, I did go up and down, but that's because the ears are a little bit more pointed and tiny at this end, so it's a little easier to color this way. When I'm all finished coloring, I want to make sure that my color matches from top to bottom. So I don't want to leave any white peekaboo spots. Let me show you what I mean. So as you're coloring, if your hand gets tired and you might think, oh, I'm done. But if you look back, you can see that my ears are darker than my forehead. So I need to make sure it's all the same shade of black. So light or dark, it doesn't matter as long as it matches. Now I'm almost finished coloring my cat. And then we're going to get ready to do a little bit of spooky eyes on our kitty and the moon. I'm double checking I don't have any big peekaboos anywhere, any spots of white. Looking pretty good. I'm going to put my broken crayon and my black crayon off to the side. Now the next color I want you to look for in your crayon box is yellow. We're going to need yellow. And we don't need broken ones, just regular ones. And you're going to need green. Now, if you have a couple different shades of green in your box, pull out what you have. Now we're going to start with the lightest color, and that's going to be yellow. So we're going to start with yellow. So we're going to take our yellow and we're going to use that inside the kitty cat's eyes, going around the Sharpie marker. And you want this yellow bright, so go ahead and do a really good coat of it. When you're done coloring the eyes yellow, the next color we're going to do is the greens. Now, if you only have one green, you're going to use that green around the edge. I'm going to use probably these shades of green because they show up a little better. So I'm just going to run a little bit of the lighter green around the edge of my cat's eye, just kind of outlining it. Then I'm going to switch over to the darker green and add that. When I'm done outlining the cat's eyes with the green, I'm going to add just a tiny bit at the top. Those eyes look pretty cool. I'm going to also outline the little people with my dark green too. All right, go ahead and put your green away. And now we're going to come up here to our moon and use our yellow crayon to fill in our moon. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of softly outline it right next to my blue line. And I made my bat in front of my moon. In my first picture, I did not. And then I'm just going to fill the moon in with yellow. Try to color around my bat. I can always, if I color on top of the bat, I can always go back over the bat with my marker. Now, once I've made my moon yellow, then I can outline the moon around the edge with some of the lemon lime green to match the eyes. So I can come in with one of my lighter greens and just put a little bit around the edge. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. Now, when I'm all finished with my moon, then the last thing is to make the sky a little darker. You can see on this picture, my sky looks like daylight, and in this picture, it looks more like nighttime. So what I'm using for that is my broken black crayon. I'm just going to go over all of my picture one more time with my broken black crayon. If you don't have a broken black crayon, you could do the same exact thing, just using your regular crayon. So I'm just going to really quickly add a little bit of black crayon to my blue. You can see how quickly you can do this when you have the crayon without a wrapper on it. It just goes really fast. Now you could make this picture just using markers and doing the whole picture with markers, but I find it's a little easier to color the sky with crayons than it is with markers. So I like to mix the two together. We could also color the cat with a black marker. If you didn't want to use black crayons, it would look really pretty with a black marker also. So I hope you had fun today making our spooky cat picture. I had a great time, and I will see you for our next art lesson. Have a wonderful day.